We'll be going to the next question then, and starting with Mark. Would you consider consolidating city services with other municipalities or outsourcing city services to private contractors? If so, please identify those services.
First off, no, I would not consider outsourcing our services to private services. We have a great set of employees with the City of Janesville. I've seen them working. They work hard, and Janesville is a top-notch employer, and I think we should continue to be that. First question. We should, I'm sorry, could you repeat the first part of that question?
Sure. Would you consider consolidating city services with other municipalities?
At this point, I don't think that's an option. I think Janesville would be a loser consolidating. We would be taking on more than the city would get in return. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. George?
Okay, would you just please repeat the whole question?
Would you consider consolidating city services with other municipalities or outsourcing city services to private contractors? If so, please identify those services.
Yeah. First of all, when it comes to consolidating city services, I don't think that there's many city services that we would be in the position to consolidate. There are some things that may occur in the future that would present itself. And I go back to the past and say, for example, like the Rock County 911 emergency system. That's a consolidation that we worked on for several years, but brought it to fruition, and it works well for the entire county. There may be some things that would come along that possibly should be considered. The other thing, as far as outsourcing, I don't truly believe in outsourcing. The only way that I think that we should outsource and replace our current system of providing services is if there's something that the city cannot do or we do not have the resources to do it, then we should consider outsourcing and contracting for that.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
There's been discussions the last few years about consolidating some services, but I don't think there's really a good opportunity to do that. If we were a smaller city or a village, you see fire stations in smaller towns consolidating. That is very efficient. But we're a city of 60,000 people. That's really not in the cards for us, I don't believe. Should we look at opportunities, especially with Beloit and some of our surrounding communities, for possibilities of purchasing advantages or things like that? Yes, absolutely. I don't think we should exclude all of those things. As far as outsourcing services, we have excellent workers in the city, excellent services. I am opposed to outsourcing. I don't think that's really a benefit to our city or will allow us to continue our excellent services.
Thank you. Matt?
As far as consolidation of city services with municipalities, the city somewhat already consolidates some services in a form of a contract. We contract our fire department to do townships and stuff like that. So I see the consolidation part being more of a revenue-driven option for the taxpayers of Janesville. As far as consolidating to private contractors, I'm willing to take a look at those items. I feel hopefully we find out that we are doing the best possible job at the best possible price. But I think as representing a budget that will continue to see shortcomings from Madison and the inability to tax, we have to be realistic to those things. As far as specific areas, I would not support anything as far as essential city services or public safety. But this has worked well in some departments, such as the contract we have with Kemper Sports and the golf course. So, thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to have a question from the audience. And we'll begin with George. There's a lot of discussion about local versus state control. Where do you stand on this? And please give some examples of why you have this opinion.
I'm a firm believer in local control. I guess the thing is that for the state or even the federal government to dictate certain things to how the city operates and provides its services or whatever, those decisions are best made locally because we understand the issues and the parameters and what the needs are to accomplish the overall goal. I just think that there's a division in government for reasons, and that's why you have things like city councils and county boards, and then you have your state government and your federal government. So I'm a strong believer in local control.
Thank you. Jim?
I also am a strong believer of local control. I think the citizens of our city have representatives in the city council. We have a city manager here. We're able to make our decisions here because we know what our priorities are. We absolutely are, I mean, realistically, there are controls like such as a DNR and other agencies that we are required to work with, and we do very well. But any decisions that are appropriate to be made locally, I'm in favor of it. I don't think letting the state dictate things or actions that are not in the best interest of the city is not what we want here. So I'm absolutely in favor of local control.
Thank you. Matt?
I would also support local control. You know, someone in Madison I don't think knows what's best for the residents and the neighbors of Janesville citizens. I often joke with some of my elected politicians in Madison that they're quick to pass something down to us, but they don't like when Washington passes it to them. I think we understand what's going on in our community and with our neighbors, and it's our responsibility. So I would support more local control over state control.
Thank you. Mark?
I concur with everyone else that local control is best for many, many things. One thing the state does, and Mr. Farrell alluded to it, was like the DNR, having their regulations regarding waterways and land. Another thing are building codes. Those are state-driven codes, building codes, fire codes. Those we work with, but also every other city in the state works with those codes so that everything is done well and done properly. So other than that, though, regarding decisions at the local level, let's keep what we have local and let the state deal with state issues.
Okay, next question, and we're starting with Jim. What do you see as the needs and wants of young people, say in the 18 to 25-year group? What role might improved leisure services play in attracting and retaining this group and keeping them out of trouble?
Frankly, one of the things that I've done a lot of research and talking to people in the city is about a potential for a skate park. We need to add some more things for our young people to keep them busy, occupied, and some healthy activities. That's one area right there. As far as leisure services, I was on that committee. We have a lot of good programs in the summer in our parks, and a lot of very positive programs for people in my age group, like in the senior citizen age group. But I think we need to relook at the skateboard park, and I think that is one major thing that I think that we can look at and say to our young people, you know, it's worth an investment in our city to give you some really nice places to utilize.
Thank you. Matt?
Some of the needs and wants that I think that 18 to 25-year-olds currently have is the big city feel in a small town. I think young adults are looking for recreational activities in the downtown, festivals, events, culture. And how can leisure services play a part in this? I think they already do. They offer a lot of rec leagues through the schools and in our parks and stuff like that. Could there always be more? Of course. But this is also going to take private individuals to help step up and sponsor these events and staff these events and volunteer. I think as UROC is expanding, there's an opportunity for this. There's a little more of a college feel and the opportunity to go to school and stay in town. But you know, obviously, a lot of the things that this group is looking for are in college cities where their friends are going if they've stayed here. So I think we need to know what we can do to continue with essentially events throughout the community in the downtown and other areas.
Thank you. Mark?
Everyone has made some good observations. Recreational opportunities, quality of life issues, and I see recreational opportunities is just that. It's improving everyone's life, including those 18 to 25. Summer softball leagues, a nice Dawson field, all these issues, a skate park. These are all great ideas to keep those citizens engaged. And they are citizens, and we need to listen to what they would like us to do for them. So we represent everyone, not just voting age people, but everyone, from youngsters to senior citizens. So we need to improve and keep improving our quality of life issues, like recreational opportunities.
Thank you. George?
Well, if we're looking specifically at the 18 to 25 year age group, I believe that for athletic programs and those types of things, we do provide several venues through both the leisure services division of the city and also privately. And there's been some private investment as far as creating some activity for that age group. But I think that the big issue is that 18 to 25 year age group is looking for things that are cultural events, things where they can learn and gather with their own age group. And I think that some kind of festivals or those types of things is what they really need and want. So it's the cultural activities that they're looking for.
Thank you. And now we're moving to the next question, so we'll be beginning with Matt. Matt, most landlords in Janesville are responsible in maintaining their property and when responding to tenants, a few are not. What might the city do to ensure that all rental units in Janesville provide a minimum level of acceptable living conditions for tenants?
As a landlord myself, I would not allow my tenants to live in any house I would not live in myself. I think the city needs to continue through neighborhood services to go after the bad landlords. Not all landlords are bad. There are some really good landlords out there, and I think those landlords can provide a lot of opportunities. The city last year housed a landlord forum here at the library. I think we need to continue to use the ordinances that we have in place, fine, cite, houses that are not up to code. Make sure we have the accessibility for tenants that are having problems with their landlord to reach out to city through the neighborhood services. We have some really good people in those departments that carry a pretty heavy fist, and I would continue to support their efforts.
Thank you. Mark?
Neighborhood services is the key to this, and getting neighborhood services to work with tenants, because sometimes tenants don't know that they have the opportunity to work with the city. And getting word out to them that there are city services there to help them, I think is the key, is these people need to know that there are opportunities that they can use through the city to help them live a better life.
Thank you. George?
I think the city could probably do a couple of things. I think through neighborhood services, we have to take a stricter stance on the enforcement of the codes where there are violations. I think one of the things that we've done in the past, or the city has done in the past, is to provide too much time for corrections to be made. I think we have to stick within the parameters, the time limits, and enforce that issue. The other thing is there's been various things that have been done increasing tenant abilities or tenant rights. And I think perhaps what we need to do is do a better job of educating tenants on what their rights are. And perhaps we could have some seminars and things to increase the awareness to tenants of what their rights are And we should also continue to have landlord seminars to make sure the landlords understand their responsibilities.
Thank you. Jim?
One of the key things that I think we can do to improve this relationship with landlord and tenants is to identify where these landlords, all of them, can be easily reached. I've been told that sometimes you cannot even reach a landlord and a tenant can't to resolve a problem. We should have some sort of system in place where we know where the landlord is. I also agree that tenant rights are important and that the city should do a better job explaining to our tenants what rights that they have. And also the neighbors are also affected in this relationship. I live near some rental units myself. So those are the things we can work on, are landlord ID and tenant rights clarification.
Thank you. And now we're going to start another question with Mark. Mark, how can an all-male city council that live mostly on the east side represent the entire city of Janesville?
That's a good question. But we represent, city council represents everyone. It's an at-large council. And I have friends and relatives all over town. I grew up on the west side. Yes, I live on the near east side now. My heart goes out to the west side, to the south side. I grew up in a family, large family, brothers and sisters, and everyone was respected. I have two lovely daughters. We raised them. They got a great education here. I've always been aware of issues that are important to women, and I don't think the fact that there's 7 men on a city council should diminish that.
Thank you. George?
Well, I think, how can we be responsive or to the citizens of Janesville? First of all, we are elected to represent the entire community. And I think that generally, I think it's our responsibility to listen to anyone who contacts us with their concerns. I think it's our responsibility to become aware of and look at all areas of the city and know what's occurring and what's happening. I lived initially on the west side. I lived on kind of the southeast side. I've lived on the northeast side. So I've lived in various segments of the community. And I think that it's a matter of listening and being available to be contacted by the citizens and to respond to their questions and needs. And if we do that, then we're doing our job representing the entire community.
Thank you. Jim?
I feel I represent the city in total. I've visited many homes in different parts of the city. I've always made myself available to them. And as frankly, I live near Jefferson School. I don't consider this east side, west side issue, I don't really feel it fits sometimes. As far as females in the council, yes, I think it would be great to have more of them, more females. Absolutely. We have them in our state legislature, Congress, and so on. I've encouraged several very capable females to run for the city council. I will continue to do that. So far it's not worked out, but I think it's a good idea to have good representation of races and male, female, ages. I think we should have a diverse city council.
Thank you. Matt?
To me, as far as my representation, an all-male council would be the same as having a blended council. For my vote and my, how I operate is it doesn't matter what side of the city you live on. It doesn't matter if you're man or woman, black or white, pink, purple, or zebra striped. I think the job of the council as a whole is to listen to the residents throughout the entire community, and that's something I think I do well. I am the lone West Side candidate and council member, and I often get joked about that a lot, but I don't think it matters what side of the city you live on. And I will speak for the current council we have on. I don't think it matters as far as location. I think we've done a pretty good job representing the entire city as we go through the process.
I just don't understand why I should vote in city or county elections. I mean, what do they do? I vote for the president and stuff. Isn't that enough?
A frightening trend is occurring with our most valued resource, voters.
City council elections? Yeah, I guess I didn't vote.
Every vote counts in local elections. Some local contests are decided by just a handful of votes.
So what does city council actually do?
And what about the county board?
Local elections matter more than you might think. Ordinances are passed that affect where you can live, where you can ride your bike, even where you can take your dog. They even make decisions about new businesses, the county fair, and snow plowing.
We've got to be smarter about this.
If you want to learn more, you can go to our website or come to one of our meetings. You'd be surprised what you'd learn. Oh, and don't be intimidated. It's not only for women.
Remember, the more local, the more impact on you. Be an educated voter. Vote local.